Everyone, I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Chief Executive of Shell PLC has commended President Bola Tinubu for creating a healthy climate for investments to thrive and restoring investor confidence. He stated this after Shell and its partners invested an additional $20 billion to expand its investments in Nigeria. We have more in this report.
Shell started his oil exploration in Nigeria in 1936, but years down the line, the British oil company struggled with hundreds of onshore oil spills as a result of theft, sabotage, and operational issues leading to costly repairs and high-profile lawsuits. In 2021, Shell had sought to sell its Nigerian oil and gas business, but decided to remain active in Nigeria's offshore sector. 5 years after it made that decision, things have changed, and the British oil major is making bold decision. This is after his leadership met with President Bola Tinubu. The Chief Executive Officer of Shell PLC, Mr. Will Shawan, praised President Bola Tinubu's leadership for creating a healthy climate for investment to thrive and restoring investor confidence. At the meeting held at the Presidential Villa in Abuja, Mr. Shawan said Shell is deepening and expanding its investment in Nigeria, and the company is ready alongside its partners to invest an additional $20 billion because of the robust and bold leadership the Nigerian president has demonstrated. Highlighting Shell's recent investments such as $5 billion in Bonga North, $2 billion in HI, and the gas project to NLLG, Mr. Shawan stated that the corporation is committed to long-term investment in the country, underscoring the stable economic environment.
We have really been in a space where we are very keen to invest in Nigeria, but I would say this has not always been the case. Your leadership, your vision has created an investment climate over the last few years that, I will be very honest with you, has propelled us to invest, in particular also as we compare to other investments around the world. Stability in today's environment will honestly have a premium for corporates, because we are investing not for one administration or 5 or 10 years. We want to invest for 20, 30, 40 years. And in the case of Nigeria, for many, many decades. And therefore, as we look today at opportunities to be able to allocate our capital to multiple different countries, I can tell you, and I'm proud to say, Nigeria stands as one of the ones that is attracting more capital than most.
Thank you very much. President Bola Tinubu, meanwhile, has approved the gazetting of targeted investment-linked incentives to support the proposed Bonga South West deep offshore oil project by Shell and its partners. The president also directed the special advisor to the president on energy, Mrs. Oluvehoin, to facilitate the gazette of the incentive in line with Nigeria's existing legal and fiscal frameworks.
Today, I can proudly say that confidence is returning to our investment environment. Hearing from you now, I could guarantee you that when I assume the responsibility of this office, the pledge I made to people of the country and my background is to ensure transparency, and that's what I'm doing. I like what Shell has done, and your partnership with Pursue and all of that. There's no better time to do it than now. And I want to assure you that what we promise is what we will deliver.
President Tinubu hopes that Bonga Southwest reaches a final investment decision within his first term in office.
Well, that's not your usual headline story. That's a multinational oil giant signaling confidence in Nigeria's economic direction. And I'm joined by the business editor in TVC, Tolu Ogunjobi. Tolu, I have a feeling that we're going to need an expert to unpack what this really means in terms of jobs, revenue, foreign exchange, and the overall impact on our economy, right?
Indeed, $20 billion.
That's a lot of money.
No small cash. But one thing here is they are deliberate. And why are they deliberate? because of the policies of governments. You know, we had the Petroleum Industry Act in the first place, but President Tinubu has come out to even go away from that to put some executive orders in place that is really making most of these oil companies coming to the country. Indeed. So that, I think, is a major drive. But let's get more, just like you said.
Absolutely.
Dr. Ayodele Oni is my guest. He's an energy analyst and also an energy lawyer. Dr. Oni, I'm sure you heard myself and my colleague talking about what is happening in Nigeria's oil and gas industry. Take us through what you make of this $20 billion planned investment by Shell and what's been playing out in the entire energy space in recent times.
Okay, thank you very much. It's very good news. It shows that when you are deliberate about your policies, you get the results, right? When it comes to upstream, let's start from the basics, right? When it comes to upstream investment, investors or prospective investors look at a few things. One is stability. With the PIA, in fact, our stability is improving. We're making it more attractive. The PIA, presidential orders, executive orders, all further enhance the stability and attractiveness. 2, they look at geology. And 3, they want to be sure they can get their money back when they invest. And that's what the presidential order also does. Those incentives you see around gas in particular and upstream generally. You know, and you see he said something about the team of the president. And I think we don't give them enough flowers. And you know, for some reason, I think I know 1 or 2 of them. And I think it's worth saying a big thank you to Olu Venjen, starting from the president himself, who's got the foresight to have such people. There's an Ola Adeniji, there's also an Ekweme, I think Daniela. Those are people who work very key and very closely with Olu. And I think as a team, they've done an excellent job. I know there are a few other people who work with her. So I think we should give them their flowers whilst they are alive. So this means, you know, you could do a juxtaposition with the Dangote refinery, right? You hear of upwards of $16 to $20 billion, and you see the effect, right, in terms of multiplier effect around employment, and I dare say that it's played a critical role in the stability of the Naira, to be honest, because we're then not spending 1.3 trillion was what we spent in a particular quarter. I think it was Q3 2024 or so. We spent around 1.8 trillion buying petroleum products alone. So once you have something happening, something good happening downstream and midstream, and then you have the upstream support, it suggests that policies are beginning to see the effect. Good policies. Recall, and I don't know if you remember, at a program, a Total CEO had said Nigerians start a conversation and never close it, and tended to mock us. But that's changed. That was in the last administration. And that's moved forward now. Things have changed. People are no longer saying we open conversations without closing them. They are now saying I'm putting my money where my mouth is. That's what I see with the sector and with Shell's conversation, starting with Bonga North, 5 billion to HI, OML 114. I think this Bonga is 118. Right, OML 118. So it's good news. It's good news.
Indeed, I know we both talked about the Bonga investment. Then I think it's about $5.8 billion US dollars or so. We talked about it, and also you've identified the $2 billion HI project and other contribution to the gas pipeline, to the NLNG. So a lot of efforts that's coming from Shell. But do you see this as you know, an eye opener maybe for other international oil companies that might want to drive into the country, talking about stability that they've seen, consistency with policies across the board?
Of course, you know, for upstream investment, it's a long-term play, and it's long lead investment, right? You don't necessarily get your money back in 1 or 2 or 3 years. So a lot of them are looking at the long term. So it suggests that these policies are not looking at just today, right? So I think that if a Shell can invest, you can be rest assured that everyone else too is writing their checks at the moment, you know, and maybe looking at checking out 1 or 2 other factors to then make that final decision. You begin to see a number of FIDs happen and a number of investments. See what's happening also with the NLNG, the gas investment, right? Additional investment around gas. You know, so I think it's good. It's good, particularly now that many of the IOCs are concentrating in deep offshore. They've got the technology, they've got the know-how, and they've got the deep pockets. So it's a good signal, and you see a number of other guys come invest.
So moving on in 2026, what will be your projections for Nigeria's oil and gas industry? We've seen a lot of beautiful figures coming in for projections for inflation, for growth, GDP. But Nigeria's oil and gas sector remains very strategic. Oil prices, you know what's been playing out around that space. With all of these policies of government, where do you see us, say, mid to long term?
Okay, I think that with the stability we now see, even around oil and gas infrastructure, pipelines, and all of that, I think that you see more investment.
Hey, I'm
You see
not.
more companies come to the game, particularly oil service companies. You also see more investment in gas. You know, you may be aware of the Nigerian company that did launch a CNG project, Tetraco, in Ghana today. You see Nigerians even begin to invest outside of the country because of the cash coming in and the opportunities they see. You see Nigeria go to the world, and you then also see international investment that lead to improving our income, our GDP, and generally creating more employment. And it then means even government's taxation and fiscal position will improve. You know, similar to what you heard about customs today. You know, I think the highest revenue ever, whether it was 17.8 trillion or so. You know, we'll see that in our oil and gas in the short to medium term at the very least. You see more investment, and then government will improve its fiscal position around those investments. I mean, there may be challenges around oil prices depending on how things play out with Trump and the Middle East. Other than that, I think that there's a lot of positives, at least around attracting investment, the attractiveness of our oil and gas sector. Gas and upstream also.
Seems to be a new dawn for Nigeria's oil and gas industry. I must thank you so much, Dr. Ayodele Oni. Always interesting having you speak around issues, Nigeria's oil and gas industry, of course, even the global space, energy analyst and lawyer. Have a great night rest.